Morning, everybody. So, you can see my breath. It's so cold in here. We got a house full inside of the house, so right now I'm in the back of my garage right now. There's no heat, obviously. I don't know why that's so stupid. Maybe I'm just extra tired. Eventually, I hope to kind of remodel this entire room, make it an actual office with heat. That's cool though, with some heat, and make it look nice and pretty for when I'm doing these videos. But for right now, it's out of the house. I don't have to worry about waking anybody up, so I can be a little bit more loud in here. So maybe you guys can hear me a little bit better in these videos. So I'll roll with it for right now. But this video, the whole video, it's titled "A Stubborn Faith," and "A Stubborn Faith" is inspired mainly from my mother-in-law. She passed away back in October, and it was kind of a rough situation. And everything in this video is from what I had originally written, inspired from her life, and I couldn't one, find the time to do it, and even when there was a few times where I could actually sit down and start writing it, I couldn't. I flat out could not do it. So bear with me. I want to try to get through this. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'm going to try to go for it. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. One more. So over the past few months, I have began to learn a great many things, not only about myself, but about my family as well. I've learned the value of maintaining a strong faith while in the struggles of life. Life won't always be easy, and that's been very apparent in my own life with these past few months. It has been full of so many trials. James 1, 2 through 5 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." Joy from trials. Another translation calls the trials a trouble that can be an opportunity for joy. It kind of doesn't make sense. I mean, you get what I'm saying? That does not make sense the first time that you hear it. How can we go through hard times and still find joy of it? This is the sort of example that I could put into words. The struggles you are currently working through could give you the experience and the knowledge to help someone get through a very similar challenge later on in their life. Financial instability, doubts about faith, questions that plague your mind, self-doubt, pain. Wouldn't it be great if somebody just came in and told you, "I've been in your shoes. It may be tough, but let me help you and help you get through this season." That may be for some of you, That may be for someone down the road in your life that you encounter. Maybe you are going through what my family has been through, the loss of a loved one. I have no doubt that this painful season will be a valuable resource for when the time is right. With who and when is another question entirely, but I know that this season will be used to help someone or some others in some fashion. Too often, we hit a bump in the road and it's a little bit too hard, and we want to just immediately shake our fist at God and blame him for this season. Instead, we should be remaining steadfast within our own faith, saying words like, "God, I don't understand this situation. I don't understand why it has happened, but I do know that this is not a shock to you. You have this all figured out. I put my faith into you and your plans. Keep my thoughts focused on you and guide me through this storm." It's a lot easier said than done. I know that. Been there. Trust me. I'm not going to make it sound like it's all smiles and rainbows, because it's not. It's a lot of work. It's a mindset that really has to be put into practice. And I mean practice. Emphasize the practice. I mean, it's tough. It's flat out tough. And without a doubt, it's definitely worth the battle. What really comes to mind when I think of a stubborn faith is my mother-in-law. I wrote about her stubborn faith for her funeral. And I'll try to read that at some point in this video. She was embedded into God with all of her aspects of life. When things got rough, she knew that she still had God. When she didn't understand, she knew that God already had it figured out for her. When I personally made fun of her beliefs, yes, at one point I did make fun of her beliefs because I wasn't with God, I wasn't following God. This was before I had, renewed my faith with Him. She still prayed for me to come back and have a relationship with God, even when I was sitting there and I was poking fun at her. And obviously, I did come back, answered prayers. She refused to let go of God. It's really been an inspiration for me to look at her life in retrospect, to see how much God was just at her center, her complete core. That's the kind of faith that I'm aiming to have within my own life. Think of this as well. Think of it kind of like this. God and His stubborn love for us. That's kind of how I'm correlating everything. Mankind is obviously evil, and there's no arguing that. Just flip on any news network, listen to the politician that's trying to fix the ways of the world, or just get on social media, and I'm sure that you'll find some sort of a post that really you just didn't want to see. It's all around us, this horrible darkness that is just engulfing the world everywhere that we turn. And even with all that evil, corruption, hate, you name it, God refuses to let us go. God sent a perfect sacrifice for us, the evil ones in this story, to make sure that we had a way to approach Him, a stubbornness that just won't quit. We can't hardly even begin to tap into that deep love that God really has over us. Can't wrap our heads around it, can't even come close to recreating it in our own lives. It's incomparable. But we can work every single day to develop a faith that looks to God and His Word in our doubts, in our troubles, and in our circumstances. I can't wait to be reunited with all my loved ones one day and stand with them in eternity and remember that a stubborn faith was worth it. Then to finally hear those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I'll see you next time, guys. When I think of Michelle, I can only think of a single word to perfectly sum up her entire life. That word is stubbornness. I can think of story after story of how she could be difficult, how she wanted her order exactly right from the restaurant we were currently at, or even how she wanted to have the air conditioning set on a certain temperature, even if it wasn't her house. But that isn't what I mean at all when I say stubbornness. I mean that she was stubborn in her faith. She held on to God and refused to let go. The entire time that I have known her, she's always made sure that God was a central part of who she was. She had this strong faith in Jesus that I truly hope I can apply just a portion of in my own life. On a specific day, I remember doing a family communion with her at our church, Stratford Heights. Before we had begun praying that day, she told me that she had put my name on the prayer wall we have at the church long before that day. It took everything I had not to burst into tears and to wrap her in a big hug. But being the manly guy that I am, I had to maintain my composure. That kind of faith is what Michelle carried with her every day of her life. The stubborn faith that refused to believe someone was ever lost and couldn't come back to Christ. She had such an assurance in God. Impossible was merely a chance to pray and let God show off what He does best, the impossible. If there is anything I want anybody to remember from her life, it's that a stubborn faith can really move mountains and give you the ability to face each day, no matter what your circumstances are.